Here's the Wolseley Hornet engine. So this is a mid-30s Wolseley Hornet, which is prepared for racing. If you follow back through the blog, you will see all the various articles as we've gone through. There's been a number of little bits and pieces. We're finished with the engine now. The front covers we're leaving off just for the initial run because there's some new gears and a new chain guide arrangement. So for the very initial run, I just wanted to be able to observe those if we don't get too covered in oil. So we've kept those off. And also the front pulley, we've got to arrange this stand a bit better so that we can run the engine. And at the moment the front pulley won't go on, and so we have to alter that. I do overlook that a little bit, and then we're ready to run, so we're not at all far off. The supercharger we had to do quite a lot of work on. It actually, when we came to fit it, we just checked it over and realised it had a bearing which had failed, and others that were quite badly worn. So we had to do quite a lot of recovery work on that, and that can be seen earlier in the blog too. Just to make sure that as I tightened everything up and tightened all the various flanges and things up, I made sure that we didn't put any twist or anything in the supercharger, and I've made a note of the torque that it takes to rotate it, so that at various intervals during engine tests and car tests we can pop the pulley off and just put a spring balance and a lever on, just to make sure there isn't anything nipping or tightening up in that area. Lots of parts have been made for this one. We've got extra breathers, you can see here. That's the original breather provision, but we've given a second breather here, and I suspect we may have to do more with the engine breathers, and they all go then for racing. They all go down. We've made the pipe work there, if you can see, and they all drop down, and they'll go into this copper tank that we've made, which is a 2-litre tank, which is to the recommendation of the requirements of the VSCC for the motorsport side. There's quite a few little issues. Even in the 11th hour we had this manifold hasn't been on before, and just at the back here the manifold didn't clear this oil pipe. When we test fitted, we didn't have this oil return pipe, so we had to modify that. And just recently, as I was tightening up this manifold, I realised I could still see some air, or an air gap, and with a feeler gauge in there that confirmed there is distortion in this plate. So we have to look at that, obviously so we don't get an air leak, but also so we don't distort the supercharger. The clearances are so tight in the supercharger that we need to make sure there's nothing under load there. The gears are open on the back of the supercharger at the moment because I really want to monitor those, make sure everything is all perfectly okay after the first run. We've test run the supercharger quite extensively at 2,000-3,000 RPM and at various temperatures, hence the heat gun there, and we've got the rev counter there which we've been using for the testing. So that was bench tested, and then I tested it again after fitting it to the engine itself, just to make sure that again there isn't any distortion or anything there. So it's we're still modifying at the moment the engine stand so that we can have it running just for a brief period in the workshop here, just a very brief period, and then it'll go into the car and we can do all the testing and tuning in the car. I'll keep you updated.